me Starlux here. Okay, so I'm back with another video here. See if you can hear me. And I want to get into some of the more nitty-gritty because I've been trying to prep the soil, so to speak, in the garden. Trying to get anybody that's willing to listen a little loosened up for the ideas that I'm about to put out. And I've been doing that mainly by trying to get people to understand that, for one, we really don't know as much as we think we do in every domain. And our senses, although we get a lot of information from them, we don't get as much as it seems. I mean, we look out, we think we see the whole world, but we only interact with a little piece of it. We only interact with the atomic level. And I've gone through, lots of different ways to try to look at this. Let me get my dog. Okay, so Bonnie has to make her appearance here. My sidekick. Okay, so what I've been trying to show is that although it seems like we see everything and it seems like we know most everything, we don't see everything. We don't even know a fraction of what is to be known. And the reason why this is important is because you got to kind of loosen up your thinking to go much further, because what I'm suggesting is that our consciousness is not in our brain. Our brain is not what's creating our consciousness. And that's a big step if you believe the physical world is all there is. It's a step too far if that's the way you think. Hot rod rolling down the road. So, to understand my theory of everything, which I know is not a theory of everything, but it's an attempt at understanding the tiniest bit. And that's all we have are words that we have in our vocabulary to. So my big toe, my little toe, my toe. It's my theory of everything. And the primary beginning is that consciousness is not created by our brain. Our brain does a lot of stuff, but it's not where your thoughts come from. It's not where your consciousness is. And that's the baseline. If you can get with me that far, which is a huge step, it is very, very difficult for most people to swallow that. And I know for me, I was shocked when I came to that conclusion. But there's no other way to explain the stuff that we see. The stuff that we encounter in our daily lives, the conversations we have, the information that's available to us is all data points. And if we decide to ignore a large portion of the data points and just kind of ignore them, and even beyond ignore, make them so taboo as to say, like in the Christian faith, is you just cannot look at anything else. It would be a sin to look at something else. That's as far, really, science has gone that far in a lot of areas. Politics go that far. But it's wrong to exclude such big chunks of our possible knowledge. There's no way you could possibly come up with the correct answers. And that was one of the things that led me to these thoughts is there is so much that is unexplained with physicalism. There is so much that's unexplained if we try to put consciousness in our brain. For one thing, there's a lot of witnesses to things they report that can't be explained any other way. Like even near-death experiences. And there's this thing called lucidity, deathbed lucidity. And that's where you have a person that through brain disease has lost all ability to recognize their family, their brain is just shot completely. And they don't communicate with anybody forever, say 3 or 4 years. And now they're on their deathbed taking their last few breaths of the last few days. And they sit up in bed and they recognize everyone in the room and they have lucid conversations. Now, this is somebody that's had their brain eaten away by disease. Now, how does that happen? There's many accounts of things like that. There are just so many. And you get into like deathbed, not deathbed, but near-death experiences, and it's very similar in the regard that you have people telling stories. They're all very similar, and it just can't be explained because the person's brain was not functioning when they had these experiences. And it's the popular explanation is that that's what happens to the brain when it loses oxygen. And I'm certainly willing to accept that. But the thing is when you have brain surgeons and neurologists and things like that have these experiences, and they should know, and they see it firsthand within themselves. They themselves have the experience, and they come back and say, look, we were all wrong about how we were explaining this, because it's not oxygen deprivation or anything like that. This is beyond the brain. There is just countless amount of evidence like that has been discounted. Most of it's been so taboo that you probably hadn't heard about the newer findings. When you accept that the consciousness is outside your brain, the world makes sense. As crazy as that sounds, but it does. Everything falls into place. So one of our popular beliefs in science right now is that everything happened as a matter of accident. you had these these hydrogen molecules that bumped into the temperature changes, created a helium, and the helium and the hydrogen bounced around in each other and made stars. And these stars bounced together, and through generations of star life, they produced heavy elements that created the planets, and the planets had the elements that created us. And in those heavy elements that bounced together and created us, we accidentally became conscious. And that makes all the sense of the world, except for when statisticians run the numbers and they go, that is completely outrageous. You would have had to have hundreds and thousands of perfect accidents and perfect sequence, and there just hadn't been enough time in the universe for even one of those things to have occurred. Now, let's take this Rubik's Cube, for example. You've got what? The Rubik's Cube has what, six sides, 6 colors, 9 bits inside there that can be changed around. And if you took a Rubik's Cube and just messed it all up and gave it to a blind person, and they could make a change every second and have it checked every second. Hey, no more help around here, kitty. So every second they can make a change and have it checked. Nope. So the age of the universe is like 13.4 billion years old, what we estimated. It's probably going to be longer than that from the new evidence coming out from the new telescopes. But anyway, we go with the standard thing. So you got 13.4 billion years, and it's estimated that if you had 1.4 trillion years of making a change on that Rubik's Cube without any kind of feedback, if you did it for 1.4 trillion years, you have the probability that you might find a solution. And the universe hadn't been around for 1.4 trillion years. And that's only this little Rubik's Cube. It's not anywhere near as complicated as a star or a planet or a tree, or certainly not us, and certainly not consciousness. My cat is playing with the tripod. We get all the help in the world. Okay, you didn't want that much help. So you can see the problem there. The solution is a feedback loop. If you get enough feedback, you can solve it in a lifetime easily. But that is from, getting the feedback of looking at it and seeing which one's getting closer, which one's not, and instead of just making random choices. So there's probably some type of consciousness in the very beginning that started all this. And it's my contention that is your consciousness, that all consciousness came from the same place, and it is still all one thing, and it's spread out in a fractal type shape. In other words, a pattern. And in that pattern, it's kind of more like a hologram. And each little piece of the consciousness has all the information of all the others. A hologram, if you took a film, a hologram image, and you shine it under a it takes a type of organized light like a laser, and you shine it through that hologram, you get a three-dimensional image off a two-dimensional sheet. And if you cut that one in, that hologram in half, you still get the same three-dimensional object from the two-dimensional, but you get two of them, and you can cut it as many times as you want. You'll always get the same information. All the information is on each little piece, and in that way, this fractal acts as a hologram, and it's a pattern that repeats itself, and everything in our world we look at is a fractal. You can find these fractal shapes and follow them down in anything. If you look at something long enough and study it, you'll see that it ends up coming as a fractal. It's a repeating pattern. Now, I want to say something about our perspective on things. And there are many truths. Einstein showed it really, really plainly in relativity. Everything is dependent on your point of view. Everything is relative. Your truth is only relative to your position, literally. When you see an example of a train going down the road down the railroad track with this ball bouncing up and down inside, from the observer on the outside looking at the train, the ball is making like zigzags up and down. In other words, it's going straight up and down to the guy inside, but it's covering a distance because the train is moving. So observing it from the outside, it's going at a zigzag and gaining ground on each bounce. And for that to happen, time has to stretch. The time on the train is moving faster than the one that's sitting stationary. So those are examples of hard truths that are only from each one's perspective. There are two truths in that. And I say there are multiple truths, and it's all in your position. The position that you view things from. And I think that is true psychologically as well. People have different truths depending upon what they've been exposed to all their life. So I think I'll cut it off there, and I appreciate you guys checking me out. I wish I could get more numbers, and I wish I could do this more interestingly, because I feel that it's important. But, you know, I'm not the greatest entertainer in the world, I guess. And what can you say? I'd appreciate a thumbs up. I'd appreciate a share. And certainly I'd appreciate a subscription if you haven't subscribed already. So thanks. There'll be more words of wisdom coming, because we're just scratching the surface. Thanks.
Having studied this for over 25 years, I am absolutely convinced, based on evidence, that you, me, every single person seeing this video, yes, all of us, are indeed going to have life after death. We are literally eternal beings having a physical earthly life. This is temporary. Our real existence is going to be in the afterlife, and a wonderful afterlife, I might describe too.
It was a classified program unveiling secrets, which it didn't feel right. We're doing something that is so mind-blowing that this is like something everyone should know about.
We're still left with this nagging problem of the difference between fantasy and reality.